Great.
Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Figured I'd just give you a quick review to well, it's kind of an obscure TV series, but it's like certainly overlooked. So as you guys, I'm sure you're aware of, you're all pretty culturally educated. As you know, like True Detective Season 1 was one of the best TV shows of all time, especially in terms of crime, horror, thriller, that sort of genre. The second season of that was obviously a bit dog shit. I guess it had some okay moments. Like when, what's his name, beat the shit out of the bully's dad. Like, that was just kind of funny. Season 3 was okay, but, you know, a bit woke and boring. Like, any time that you have main characters and their only purpose as the main character is to be black, which was kind of the case with Season 3 of True Detective. Like, their main characteristic of their character and their main story arc revolved all around being culturally black. You alienate the audience that's not black, and the majority of the audience for that will be white, but, you know, it was okay, but, you know, a bit woke and boring, really. Season 4, well, you know, that's where we kind of went off the rails. It had 2 female leads, one of them's a black native woman, so, yeah, it fully accepted the woke, we might say. But that first season of True Detective, like, it sacrificed none of its substance or authenticity to, you know, the degenerate woke culture. To what is essentially the government and big corporations soft censoring art by forcing the inclusion of this woke shit, right? So it's obviously, you know, sinister. Like, by all means, you can create a story that centralizes around these topics, like black culture or whatever. But when you try to forcibly inject it into something that it is clearly not meant for, it comes across as extremely gross and degenerate, and people can see that. Hence the go woke, go broke. But the first season had none of that. It was dark, it was pessimistic, it was slow burn, it was like brutal crime show. Just about two men staring into the abyss while the abyss stares back, while trying to catch a pedo killer, basically. Over the course of the season, one loses his mind to the point where he straight up executes a handcuffed individual, a kneeling handcuffed individual. The other one was already, you know, pretty fucked up from, you know, previous drug use and hallucinating and seeing shit. The point being, of course, that, you know, that it's a rich, authentic show with really good characters. And the other point being, of course, that the seasons that followed weren't even half as good. You know, they blew it as successes, basically. They were pretty trash. They completely fumbled the tone, completely fumbled the suspense, sacrificed what was left with injections of woke nonsense, basically. Burned through the entire remaining goodwill, political capital, and authenticity of the brand that Season 1 built. And all the seasons after that, it just shows, like, you can't pay off critics, right? You can trick the audience into buying it, but you can't pay off the critics. Well, you can pay off the critics, but yeah, you can trick the audience into buying it, watching it, and then being upset with it by, you know, initially opening it to all critics. The critics are extremely fucking woke and don't know what they're talking about or looking at. But, you know, people are just going to resent you after that because you tricked them. And, like, that's kind of what's happening. So having said all of that, I may just have discovered the spiritual successor to the first season of True Detective. This would be like the System Shock remake to the first Bioshock, if you will. Like, similar in tone, darkness, one obviously better than the other, but the second's like making a pretty okay accounting of itself. The show I'm talking about is The Outsider. The story of The Outsider is very basically a kid gets absolutely brutally offed off screen. Like, seriously, this is like one of the worst kid murders in fiction in like recent memory. Like, perhaps only topped, I don't know, by like the dissection scene in Men Behind the Sun. Don't look that up, by the way, especially if you don't have a strong stomach. The kid is basically bitten, clawed, and sodomized to death, like, by a tree branch. And I gotta say, like, is Stephen King okay? Like, first, yeah, well, it's not the only instance of it. There's a bunch of gay rape and all that sort of stuff in Stephen King's fiction. But, like, the obvious worst part of it was, like, the pre-final boss underage gangbang at It, for what appears to be spurious reasons. Like, assuming he's not weird, some statement about, you know, childhood and adulthood transition with sexuality, but, like, even then it has that creepy leftist thing about, you know, kids and sex and consent for gender transition and all that sort of thing. The stuff that the left is very uncomfortably attempting to blur the lines on these days. But yeah, like, it's very weird. And now he's, like, written possibly the second worst child murder in a movie/TV series I've ever seen. Like, it's all off screen, but the details are fucking horrible. Like, I'm not even going to bring up his, you know, TDS or association with Democrats association with the far left's association with, you know, pedo shit, age of consent shit when it comes to kids and all that horrible shit. But look, I digress. It sets a tone. Like, the first True Detective sort of had that, but it more hinted at it. Here, the details are, you know, well put out through the dialogue, let's say. They're not focused on, but they're hinted at, and that suggestion makes it a lot worse. And it just sets a really extremely well executed slow burn crime horror mystery tone, basically. From there it develops sort of into like a mystery whodunit. It's a pretty cool idea, because, like, it's well grounded in its facts. Like, the physical DNA witness evidence all point to the dude from Ozark, who does an amazing job in the role. Like, he's quite brilliant in general, but at the same time, he gets completely exonerated by video evidence of an alibi and fingerprints from the location of his alibi, like, at the same time. So it's like this big mystery, like, if he did it or not. The main character is just like a hard-boiled detective type who just lost his own child, so misplaces his grief and anger at the death of his own child into anger at the child murderer, and understandably just, you know, wants to put him in the ground just for reasons. And he's obviously got a very raw nerve about that and the idea of the supernatural, and that you know, plays into his character arc, sort of. Unlike True Detective, though, things get weirder and they do get supernatural. Like, it is worth a watch. The supernatural elements aren't as understated as True Detective, where, like, they are more hinted at as metaphor from the main character's drug use damage. Like, when Rust sees, like, the birds at the burnt out church forming the pattern of the spiral of decay of the killer, or he sees, like, the abyss thing at Carcosa when he's hunting the killer. Like, both of those things may or may not be supernatural. Like, they left it open-ended. It was, like, really well done. Like, it may have just been suggestion from the, you know, the theatrics, the stimuli of the area, just feeding into, like, his drug trip, and he may have just been like half imagining it, half seeing the metaphor, given the drug trip. Or it may have been, okay, he's more sensitive to this stuff. He can see the shit behind it. Like, there's something behind the waking world that, like, influences and bargained for the killer's actions, right? Like, it's literally left open-ended. Is he, like, a weird apostle for some otherworldly entity, or was he just, like, an incestuous weirdo who was, like, a fan of the playground and enjoyed offing people? This one doesn't have anything like that's as well crafted or open-ended as that. It's just flat out supernatural, but it does maintain that same dark tension and brutal tone quite well. And its story, the investigation of the supernatural, is like, it's well grounded in its facts and evidence and all that sort of thing. Any plot holes it has, they're not that bad. Like, aside from the fact that at all the crime scenes there's a dude with a hoodie walking around with like a deformed face, and yeah, you get it. But other than that, it's like all well grounded, and it maintains its details in the elements like very well. The character arc's pretty good. The main character is struggling with Greek PTSD from what he does in the story, and his like own disbelief in what is happening, and the evidence, and obviously he wants to catch and kill the pedo. It's a pretty good arc. The pacing could be better. Like, if we're being honest, it has like an initially quite a strong start, but then it peters out a bit, and then they introduce like an autistic black lady. Look, it's got woke in it. But you can't, like, throw the baby out with the bathwater. It is pretty woke. But, yeah, they introduce a autistic detective PI, Mary Sue. So it gets a little bit woke. But then the villain is quite well done and creepy and primal. The Grief Eater. And just like the shots of it are like very striking, and its cuts are very well done too. Like, it's very well executed. Like, just the shot of like Terry's face walking back to his van when the other kid sees him, and he's just covered in blood, and his face around his mouth is just absolutely covered in blood from like biting a kid viciously to death off screen. And he's just got these dead eyes, like, and then he doesn't seem to be quite there, and it's just like brilliant acting, and it's like absolutely fucking haunting. The series suggestion of the violence and everything is just extremely well executed. It's not overtly gory. Like, it does have brief flashes of what happens, but a lot of it is suggestion with the details and that sort of thing. And there's not heaps of murders in it. Like, it's not, it's not Terrifier 2 cutting the guy's dick off and smashing it against the car window. It's not the scalping and disarming of the woman while like rubbing salt and bleach in the wounds. Like, the murders are like grounded. And yeah, it's not heaps visually gory, yet it still remains extremely disturbing and effective with what it does show. It's like well done storytelling sort of thing. So yeah, if you like the first season of True Detective, give it a shot. Solid 7.5, maybe 8 out of 10. It's got pretty minimal wokery. It's not heaps woke. Obviously it has a severely autistic Black Mary Sue. Probably loses a point for that if we're being honest. And it, like, I'm looking at the moral of the story, and it seems a little bit odd to me that the Democrats always seem to swing in this one direction. It seems odd to me, like, that a Democrat supporter in Stephen King, who wrote, the child orgy scene, and okay, fair enough, Romeo and Juliet laws, I guess, he seems to write a story, and the moral of the story seems to be, don't judge fan of the playground murderers is guilty straight away, and the stigma associated with the child murders can be bad. Like, with Democrats and Democrat supporters, Marxists and far leftists, it always seems to swing one way. And I don't think this odd leniency is a good thing, especially given their given some of the writings of Sanger and Foucault and all that sort of thing that defend pedophilia. I don't think it's wise to always swing in that direction. Like, fair enough, you can make the case in art, hey look, innocent until proven guilty, but specifically around child murder and child rape and all that sort of deal, it seems to be mildly advocating, what would you say, that the stigma associated with those things is bad. And I don't know if you guys remember that. There was a push a while ago to reduce the stigma around these things. Even propose like leniency in law around these specific things. The idea being that if the consequences of the crime weren't as high, there was less likely chance that the fans of the playground would kill the kid when they were done with them. And that's just a horrible microcosm of the left in a nutshell, and it shines through in this art a little bit here, just with the moral of its story. And like, I'm just always watching Democrats when it comes to that shit. It's always weird, and it always sides on the side of like this weird leniency. And I think you should too, quite frankly. Don't trust these cunts as far as you can fucking throw them.
Start running! Now where'd you go? Nice try! Over here! Find another angle! Move on!
Yeah, got it! Push it!
On it! She's trapped!
Over here!
Go! Get around her! Right over here!
Get out of here.
How'd she go? Flush her out!
Found her! In here! That's right.